So what I'm going to show you is how to build a attendance taking. Yeah, so MCO period, COVID-19 period, when you go to a shop, right, people will usually ask you to write your name and your phone number, but that's number one, very very dirty, because you still need to hold a pen and paper, and later on when the government officers want to request the information from you, you just photostate the name list and pass it to them, right? So it's very messy and disorganized. So you can build your own web applications to do that. So create a project, and then click on continue. You just have to click continue a few times. They'll ask you to configure your Google Analytics and stuff. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then you just click on create project, and then it will tell you that the new project is ready. The main part is not about creating a project. The main part is where do you find the information that you need to run the code. So when you come to Firebase Console, right, click on this icon, and you will say add Firebase to your web applications. Again, give it a name, and then you will give you a piece of code like this. Yeah. Later on, you need to copy the settings.js to the file, to the template that I give you. Okay, the template that I give you. The idea of tonight's demo, right, actually came from this particular web application called Ding Ding. Ding Ding is the bell, Ding Ding, that we created for our community in digitalkit.org, so that the merchant can download and then print the QR code, paste it in front of their shops, and then people who come just need to scan the QR code, and then they can record their name and they can record their phone number. So the website that I'm using here is called codesandbox.io. It's just an online web page editor. So when you go into the Sandbox, right, you can see that Nuxt.js is a very popular sandbox here. So you can create a new sandbox. Yeah, you have different Nuxt templates here. You can also use React, Vue.js, or all sort of other frameworks. Yeah, there are quite a number of them here. But right now, if you can see, the most popular one is either vanilla JavaScript. Vanilla JavaScript means vanilla. Yeah, nothing added. The plain original flavor. React is another one that's very popular. AngularJS, stay away until you are very confident, and Node.js also very popular. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to GitHub and pick up a Nuxt template. So this is a Nuxt kickstart template, an empty template that you can download it and run. So I'm going to click create sandbox, import project, import from GitHub, and then paste the URL. You get all this information from your slides later, but I paste it here so you can take a look if you want to. And then click on generate sandbox. If you are familiar with coding, right, you don't have to do this. Yeah, if you are familiar with GitHub, you know how to clone this. You don't have to come to Code Sandbox. I come to Code Sandbox because I just want to do a demo with you. That's all. Okay, so there's this thing called settings.js.sample, right? In order for this to work, you need to rename it to settings.js. And you have to copy the code from Firebase Console. So you need to go to the console, the tick project. So click on tick, click on the steering wheel, click on the nuts. Okay, so here is the part that you need to copy. Yeah, Firebase config. Firebase config, copy, and then paste it here. And then we can call npm run dev. I'll walk you through the entire process of creating pages and how this thing works, so you can see it in real time. So refresh it again. So Sandbox should be running. Okay, so beautiful. I get my Sandbox up and running. This is a Nuxt.js kickstart template to help you to create simple, beautiful, and elegant website. Just paste the URL. Paste the URL in lost now, lost just now, right? Right now, you're following. Paste the URL that I've given to you just here. Okay, M3QXB. This is just a sandbox URL, so make sure that you paste it, and then you can see the same thing that I'm showing you here: a lead logo with Nuxt.js Kickstart template. Now I'm going to walk you through this Nuxt.js folder structure. Usually when we are doing front-end programming, right, like I said, we only need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now in modern web programming like Vue.js, Nuxt.js, we split that into different folders for easy organization. If you have worked on any older technologies, right, or older frameworks and libraries, for example, PHP, the tendency is to mix all the code inside your HTML code and your backend code. And you can see that you have a couple of different folders here. You have assets folders. Assets folder basically for you to put on put your static files, your CSS, your images. Components is something that you want to reuse. For example, we have logo.vue, which is where we draw the component and then so that we can reuse it later on. You have layout files as well. This is the default layout. And you have middleware. Middleware, we are not going to cover it tonight, but middleware basically something that's like the name tells you, is sit in the middle when we want to have something like extra security, or we want to have Google Analytics, some of the other plugins and stuff, we can put it into the middleware. And the main thing that we are going to work on tonight is pages. So the good thing about Nuxt.js is you don't have to worry about creating pages or creating the routes. Before this, when you are creating routes, right, you have to go through a lot of hassle. In Nuxt.js, when you want to have a new route, you basically just create a new file. So now I want to create a page for people to do check-in. So just call it check-in.view. And you go to check-in.view, right, you just need to create a template. Template is where you put your content. And I'll say tick app h2 check in here, and then you save it. And I forgot to wrap it inside a div. So everything happens in real time, then you can modify it. And if you look at my file name here is check-in, right? So I can go to the URL and type check-in. And here we go. You got a sub page called check-in, and then you have tick app check-in here. As simple as that. Yeah, very cool, right? So that's what I like about Nuxt.js. You don't have to set up anything. You just have to type it, and then it will create the structure for you. So in order to create a check-in form, right, what you need, so let me show you what do I mean. This is what I want to build. Okay, of course I can build it a little bit nicer, a little bit prettier, a little bit fancier, but I use the simplest way to build it so that you can follow and see what is happening. So what we want to do now is to have a form. Inside the form, we want to have two inputs. One is for them to put in their name, one is for them to put in their mobile number, and then for them to check in. Okay, as simple as that. So what we're going to do is, we already have tick app, so I can change it to H1. Yeah, H1. And then contactless. Any question, just type in the chat panel. Yeah, I'll come back and answer in the checkpoint system. Okay. So now you need a form. So we can create a form. And then inside the form here, we want to have an input. Okay, input, this one we want to type full name. So full name is text. Input type equals to text, and then placeholder equals to enter your name. Save it. As soon as you save it, it will be it will be reflected here automatically. And then the other input I want is mobile phone. Okay, so it's a telephone. Placeholder is enter your mobile number. And last but not least, I will need a button. And the buttons, what should I say? Check in. Okay, so here you have your very basic form configured. Yeah, this is what I meant earlier on by saying HTML only handles your structure. It doesn't handle your look and feel. I know it looks ugly right now, but it works. Okay, so you can type your name. All right, it works. Oscar said, yeah, I heard of Bubble before. Apparently, you can work without coding. Yes, a lot of things can be done without coding, right? If you use WordPress, right, you can do drag and drop. But remember the few things that I talked about earlier on. You want to have branding. So WordPress is solve the branding issue. Okay, we have our own websites running on WordPress as well, but it doesn't solve the problem of flexibility, the control, and also data. Now, when we run WordPress, right, our own delete.io site, we purchase a lot of plugins, yeah, and so that's how we overcome the issue. But for most of you, right, you probably don't want to spend so much on plugin in the long run, or you want to have a lot more control and scalability. For us, we choose plugin because we know what we want. We don't need a website, but we need a content management system. We really need a CMS. So we have to go to WordPress, because otherwise it would take us too long just to build a web application that's as robust as WordPress. So that's slightly different. But if you look at the apps that I created, like Corona Tracker, Safe to Go, Thinking, or Focus, right, we never use WordPress because it just doesn't suit our use case. So at the end of the day, is to choose the best tool, the best solutions for your own use case. So next thing you need to do is, remember, after you have done your HTML, what you need to do. The next thing you need to do is CSS, right? So here we are using a CSS framework called Tailwind. Okay, so we're using Tailwind CSS. Now you might be asking, hey, Dr. Lau, I thought just now you say CSS you should write your own, right? Here's the beautiful thing. When you use a CSS framework, a lot of the classes are already predefined for you. For example, we can show you colors. Okay, you want to define text colors. It has a lot of predefined colors here, including the 50 shades of gray, yeah, different shades of gray from 100 to 900, and then all the default colors, color naming conventions, primary, secondary, has already been designed for, predefined for you. And also there are a lot of classes that you can use. For example, spacing classes, you have different spaces, and if you can look at that. I'm not going through the details. And the one that I like it the most is all the different classes, like for example, font family, font style, font weight, tables, borders. Everything is well defined for you. And you just have to copy and paste, that it will work. And it will work consistently. The keyword here is, when you are writing small projects, right? You can write it manually. But when you have 50 pages or 500 shades of gray, yeah, that when you have different pages, like many dynamic pages, and you want to make sure that your look and feel is always consistent, then you need to use a CSS framework. And one secret that a lot of people did not tell you is that these CSS framework, they are all mobile responsive. And not only mobile responsive, they are mobile first, meaning that they will make sure that your apps looks all right, looks nice on mobile first, then only you design it for your desktops and other screens. Because why? Most of the users that use a website, they come from mobile. Yeah. Our case, I think Ruben have the number, at least 60-70% they use our website on their mobile phone as well. Corona Tracker, 85% of the users are coming from mobile, and that includes mobile phone and tablets as well. Yeah. So let's do something to beautify our web page. So if you remember how the earlier one looks like, right? It looks very clean. So what you have to do is, I can wrap this. I want to centerize this whole thing first. So I can wrap this inside a div. So if I want to centerize, I can say text enter. And then, yeah, here we go. It goes to center. And then I want to have these words in the larger size, so I can say text 3XL. And if you wonder, right, why we use relative measurement like single XL, double XL, triple XL. That's because when we use it in different screen dimension, it has to scale accordingly. I don't know what is the user screen resolution. If I put 50 pixel, for somebody who is using a TV to use my app, it looks nice, but somebody who is using a mobile phone, right, it looks gigantic. So it's better to use relative measure like this. And then class text equals to text XL. All right, so you have Tick app, contactless check-in system. Now we have form class. So this one I'll copy. Okay, so what I did was basically set up a border underneath the div class, and then as you can see, right, the ugly box is still there. So this box is related to the input. It has got nothing to do with the div. So I will say focus outline none. So I don't want an outline. Okay, done. Create, and same thing. I can apply the same style to the following div. I'm moving my head around, so if anything you realize that my voice is too soft, just let me know. Okay, done. Yeah, so you have MT8 is margin top. Okay, margin top 8. Yeah, this MT8. And then we have another one to settle. Text center MT8. So each of them have a consistent spacing. Now right now the button is very plain, right? So I'm going to copy some style here to make it look nicer. I'm not going to go through every single thing with you in terms of the style, but it basically just some look and feel display thingy. But you can see that right now it looks a lot better than we started, right? Once again, I can make it a lot nicer, but number one, I have limited design. Yeah, God is fair, yeah. I don't really know how to design. My UI is bad. Number two is that's not the main thing. Yeah, if you want to know more about it, just go to Tailwind CSS and read. I'm not asking you to read the documentation. Just search the documentation. You know, it's very straightforward. It's a very fun to read documentation, and Edmund and I enjoy doing this a lot. And probably we want some margin here as well, so we can do MT8. I do know a little bit of design, right, about white space. So when you want to leave white space, make sure that they're always the same. You cannot do a different scale of white space. So let's say if you do 8 here, if you want double the space, then you can do 16, for example, or 1.5 like 12. So it makes things more proportionate in a sense. Let's try again. Lao Chehan. Oops, I forgot to see. You can easily tell that I forgot to do the second one. So in order to make the second one the same, right, I can just copy and paste the class. I don't have to redefine the CSS anymore, right? And you can see now it works. Yeah, both CSS look the same, and both input boxes look the same. So the next thing that you have to do, right, once they have you have input it, you need to write it to the database. So that's why we set up Firebase just now. So we have done HTML, we have done CSS. You know the answer already. What are we going to do next? The next thing we are going to do is JavaScript. We want to handle the interaction. So we are going to create a script section here. Yeah, okay, good to hear that, BK. I thought you were saying I'm slow. I can speed up if you want to. Okay, so this is our JavaScript section. What we are going to do is we're going to export default. This is the convention. Okay, this is the way that we write things in Vue.js. We are going to configure the data for our site. Yeah? So we are going to say data return. So what I'm going to do here, right, is when the user enter their name and their mobile phone, we're going to write it to Firebase. In Firebase, this is called a Fire store, basically a Fire data store. And what I'm going to do is, this is to define the data model. Okay, this is to define the data model. And this data model, I'm going to bind it to our input boxes, right? I'm going to bind it to our input boxes. So here I will say our first input. This is our name, right? I can say that this one, the V model is name. The second one is V model equals to phone. No, I think I use mobile. Yeah, mobile. So the reason of doing this is we want to bind the input boxes to our data model. Yeah. And next thing what we're going to do is I'm going to write write some methods. And the job of this method is to write the values of the text boxes into Firebase Firestore database. So I can say there's this method called check-in. And when I call check-in, right, I want to be able to add a document to Firestore. So firestore.collection check-ins.add. And then once I have done this, then function and alert check is successfully. This dot name equals to okay, so let's try. Okay, you can try it in your own browser as well, yeah? It's harder for you to see here. Okay, so when you click check in, you will say check in successfully. Okay. The other one I think is because of the iframe, and then so it was blocking the entry. So how do I verify that? We'll go back to our Firebase console. Go back to Tick, go to our database, and these are the the logins that I've just done. Okay, so in Firebase, they will have a collections that store your check-ins, and each of them will be stored as a document. Now you can see that this is not stored as a normal SQL tables or any sort of table form, right? It's stored as a document. Yeah. Okay, so here's a very basic template of Next.js. So you can use it. Now, this code is fully functioning. You can use it to, if your friends or any of your friends need a solution like this, right? You can deploy this into a Sandbox and then print out a QR code that open this page. And that's it, it will work. Or alternatively, of course, if you want something that's more robust, you can always go to gettingting.com. Yeah, it's free for everybody to use as well. So this use case that I have just demoed to you, right, is a perfect use case.